Hello everyone, welcome to another video on strategic management. So far in our strategic management series, we have come across the basic concepts of what it means, strategy means, why it is important, and how we formulate strategy, the various processes in strategy formulation, starting from strategic analysis, then its formulation and implementation and control. So all these things we saw in brief. That is, I had given you an overview or an introduction into these concepts. Now from this video onwards, we will be going a bit more in depth into each of these processes in strategy formulation or in strategic management, that is strategic analysis, strategic formulation, its implementation and control. We will be looking at these broad aspects or functions of strategy management in a little bit more depth. At the end of this video, I hope that you would be able to understand the importance of environmental analysis, how strategy is linked to business environment, how we can analyze the external environment, acquaint yourself with the broader dimensions in a general environment, know the relationship between the environment and strategy, the industrial organization model, know how the PESTLE framework can be used for analysis and the implications of its factors, the external factor evaluation metrics. So, strategic analysis is basically concerned with structuring the relationship between a business and its environment. The environment in which a business operates will have a great influence on their success as well as its failures. So, there is a very strong linkage between all these changing environmental factors and the strategic response of this business to such changes and the performance of the organization. So, you can say the environment, the business, and the performance of the business is all interlinked. The external environment is very dynamic and ever changing, and it holds both opportunities as well as threats for the organization. The organizations, while they are attempting at strategic realignments, try to capture these opportunities and avoid the emerging threats. At the same time, the changes in this environment will affect the attractiveness or the risk levels of various investments the organizations are investing in or of the investors. If you are thinking from an investor perspective, the different changes in environment, like if during the time of corona, as if suppose you are an investor who invests in stock markets, naturally you would have invested more in pharma stocks than when it was off COVID, right? Pre-COVID, than pre-COVID. During COVID or even post-COVID, definitely you would be more interested in pharma stocks because the environmental effect has increased the attractiveness. At the same time, it all talks about how we have to reduce carbon footprint and how fossil fuels are harming the environment and things like that. The attractiveness of an investing in an oil company is not that great, right? There is a little bit more of a higher risk level associated with it. So the process for analyzing the external environment can be divided into 3 steps. First is the environmental scanning, that is, you observe your environment. Then comes assimilation, that is, you gather all the findings that you have got of after scanning the environment. You assimilate all the information, and then you evaluate the environment based upon the information that you have gathered. The macro environment in which all organizations operate broadly consists of the economic environment, the political and legal environment, the socio-cultural environment, and the environmental issues like pollution, sustainability, all these things. And the technological temper and its progress has also been a key driver behind the major changes that we are witnessing in the external environment. So basically, the PESTLE framework. So these factors often overlap, and the developments in one area may influence the developments in other as well. The clash of these ideologies between preserving the Indian ethos and the culture and giving a freedom of choice to people will often create problems and confusions also for business. The industrial organization model, what does it do? It adopts an external perspective on the strategic decision making process. It begins with the idea that external forces will have a major effect on organizations' strategic activities. And under this model, The external environmental forces, the organization will develop strategies to meet the demand, at the same time will limit the spectrum of tactics that may be suitable and ultimately effective. Further, the model assumes that all organizations operating within an industry possess similar set of resources. So, the industrial organization model, as we were saying, it operates on a few set of assumptions. So, first is that we are thinking that the external environmental forces, uh, the external environment, it forces the organization to develop strategies to meet the demand. Okay, so and at the same time, the external environment will limit the spectrum of tactics that may be suitable, and also that uh, and moreover, the main assumption that the industrial organization model has is that mm, within the same industry, let us say within the textile industry in Kerala, we have the major players include Jayalakshmi, we have Shimati, we have Kalyan Silks. Okay, so what we assume in the industrial organization model is that they all possess similar set of resources. Okay, so resources, be it the raw materials, be it the suppliers, be it the workers, the labor cost, the the setting up cost, all those things, we assume that it is similar. That is an assumption. It is not necessary that it is the same. If you like how our strategic management course is proceeding, consider subscribing to our channel if you have not yet, and if you have, just double check whether you have clicked the notification button so that you'll get notified each time a video is out on our channel. We have many more courses uh, that are available for IGNOU MBA students, especially in our classroom. So whenever you get time, do check them out as well. Perhaps you'll find something useful in that. Continuing with our industrial organization model, the model is basically trying to link your external environment with your competitive advantage of your organization. So let us look at it from the external environment perspective, because right now we are trying to understand our external environment and its effects on our organization. So the external environmental factors mm, will decide upon, or will influence our choice of which industry do we enter into, right? It affects our industry selection. At the same time, our industry the uh, our industry, whatever industry, the environment in that industry, as well as the overall generic environment, both of them will affect our strategy formulation, and our strategy formulation will affect the resource development. And with proper strategy developed, formulated, and resources trained or developed to meet that strategy, we go for implementing the strategy, and that is the strategy that gives us competitive advantage, right? So let us think of it from an entrepreneurial perspective. Okay, if suppose I am an entrepreneur who is trying to enter into a new market, definitely let us assume, okay, right now we are just coming out of the COVID era, right? It is almost the post COVID era, almost. There are new variants still coming up. We do not know what's going to be our futures, but still. So there was a lockdown, there could be a lockdown anytime again, right? We never know. So that is the external environment. So when I select the industry to operate in, okay, it's not just the environment that affects, but yes, environment also affects. And if suppose say I'm going into the education industry, I would definitely be considering online mode of education, right? So naturally, external environment, I whether it be education or whether it be any kind of retail or art crafts store, whatever it is, I'll definitely be going for an industry which will give me ample e-commerce online opportunities as well, right? So definitely there itself in the industry selection, environment, external environment has affected me. Now I maybe, let's assume I chose the education industry, right? I'll formulate a strategy. So, since I am a newbie into the industry, I would want to set up a foothold. Since I've chosen the online mode, I would have to set up a foothold there as a trainer. Now, how best would I put forth that foothold? I will have to put out classes, right? There are many options for me here. I can put out personalized classes, one-to-one tuitions or online tuitions, wherein I might tell circulate among my friends and family, and then like that in my circle through the help of my social circle, and try to find students like that. Maybe I can use YouTube as a platform to disseminate information and education. Maybe I can create courses on Udemy, maybe Skillshare even. Maybe I can use Instagram or Facebook. Maybe I can go for any kind of a tuition related apps. Like we have a lot of tutor, mentor, Sheg is there, many apps like that, right? um, Study mentor and lot of other apps are there. So I can strategize, make strategies which involve me using one or many of these platforms available. So that would be my strategy formulation. Then, based on what path or strategy I choose to make my mark in the online education industry, I definitely start investing on the resources. Maybe personal computing equipments that can um, do good video editing. Maybe I'll have to invest in video recording, audio recording devices, like maybe ring lights, green screens, good high end cameras which can capture good quality videos. I might have to invest in revamping my room in order to make it a makeshift classroom which looks professional. Maybe I have to upgrade my clothes to use at the time of shooting those online classes, so that I don't look like a country girl coming and talking to you, right? I might have to invest in getting some pro softwares for creating PPTs. You never know. So based on my strategy on how I'm going to achieve my goals, objectives, or my mission or vision, I start developing my resources. Then I implement, right? I create the PPTs, I create the video lectures, I shoot the videos, and, and I put them out on the platforms of my choice. Maybe it is Udemy, maybe it is Skillshare, it is YouTube, maybe I'm going for a one-on-one sessions with my students, whatever that is. I implement my strategy in hopes of achieving that aim or objective, right? And as I improve the value of my firm, as I give more satisfaction to my students, I start gaining a competitive advantage uh, over my peers or competitors, right? So that is entirely, so that is one example of the industrial organization model. So as we select the industry, that industry will have its own opportunities and threats, and our strategies will have its own strengths and weaknesses, right? So I hope you understood the industrial organization model. So let us summarize once again the steps involved in the industrial organization model. First, we examine the external environment, which will include the general, industrial, and competitive environment, to identify the external environment attributes and decide and limit, which will decide as well as limit the organization's strategic solutions. Based on these structural parameters of the industry or industries, it will be the industry will be chosen with the highest potential for returns. Strategies associated with above average returns will be developed based on features of the industry in which the organization plans to operate. After that, we acquire or develop key resources which are required for successfully implementing the formulated strategies and plans. The model will indicate that competitive advantage will be achieved if an organization can successfully implement the strategic actions which will enable an organization to utilize its resources for meeting the demands of the external environment. So the PESTLE framework. PESTLE framework is unavoidable when we talk about external environment. And by now, I hope that it must be a very familiar term for you, right? So the macro environmental influences is what PESTLE framework gives us. The framework primarily involves the following two major areas. First is the environmental factors that affect the organization. That is the political, economic, and social. Okay. And next is the important factors that are relevant in the present context as well as the years to come. So that is the technological, legal factors. Even the political factors are relevant in the present as well as future context. So these are the what you can say, the influences, the macro environmental influences that affect our organizations. And that is why the PESTLE framework is very important and unavoidable when we talk about environmental analysis and scanning. When we talk about political factors, it could be the government's stability, political values and beliefs, regulations towards trade or global business, the taxation, all these things. Economic could be the interest rate, saving rate, inflation, unemployment, such things. Socio-cultural would be the social mobility, lifestyle, attitude, education, health, fitness, multiple incomes, all those things come under socio-cultural factors. Technology is the digital revolution, the research spending, new discoveries, spread of technology transfer, the rates of obsolescence, all these things come under technological factors. Monopoly, employment law, health safety, product safety, all these things come under legal aspects. Carbon emissions, pollution level, global warming, biodegradable material choices, environmental sustainability, corporate social responsibility, all these things come under the environmental factors. So the external factor evaluation matrix, or EFE matrix, it is a tool which helps strategists to summarize and evaluate the PESTLE factors, and it generally includes the 5 steps. First is we will list all the key external factors, that is all the key external factors as in the PESTLE factors. Then we'll assign weight to each of those factors, and after assigning a rating to these factors, after assigning the weight, we will assign a rating to these factors, and then we will determine a weighted score, and then we finally determine the final total weighted score. Okay, so it is kind of like finding the weighted average or weighted mean, something like that you can think of if it helps you in mind mapping this external factor evaluation metrics. So listing the key external factors means the whether there are pestle which all factors of pestle affects our industry. Then we assign weight, like 0 maybe is not at all important, and then maybe 1 is very important. Okay, and then rating, like maybe it is poor response, average response, above average, or superior, like that we will give ratings. Like whenever there is a change in political environment, how much it affects our strategy, how much should it affect, whether we should have a poor response or a very superior response or an average response, like that we have to assign a rating. And then we determine the weight with its rating to get a weighted score, and then we sum up all the entire weighted score to get the total weighted score. So like that is how we do the external factor evaluation metrics. Like for example, let us say there is a company called ABC Incorporated, right? So the key external factors could be, let us say, yeah, so let us take the example of Anchor Industries. You all know Anchor, right? Everybody in India, most of us would know Anchor. They are very famous for its electrical products like wires and stuff. Now, what many of us won't be knowing is that they had once launched a product called fruit beer. Fruit beer. It is a non-alcoholic beer, and that product failed miserably, which is the reason why we all don't know much about that particular product, right? You can think of it as maybe like, even now there are a few non-alcoholic beers in the market which generally you think that girls prefer, right? Boys think that girls prefer, maybe even girls think that girls prefer. It's a preference thing, so we cannot judge anybody. So fruit beers, okay, so non-intoxicating thing, but it failed miserably. So um being Anchor, it is some a company that has been established in the India market for so long. Definitely they might have done some analysis, scanning and stuff before launching, investing I think around 350 crores or something at that time, 20, 30, 40 years back they might have done it. Not 20, 30, yeah, around 20, 30 years back they did it. At the time of this LPG reforms they did it, fearing the competition in the electrical equipments market when the Indian borders are opened for investment to um, by other companies. That is when they decided to diversify into this fast moving consumer goods market through this fruit beer. So definitely they might have done some analysis, right? They might have scanned their environment, right? So they might have thought of the opportunities, especially, yes, fruit beer is something that is popular outside India, but Indians are not so much accustomed to fruit beers, right? So at that time definitely they might have thought that it's an opportunity, there is an untapped market in India for alcohol free beverages, right? So also it is good, right, that people can now drink beer without getting intoxicated. I don't know why they might have thought that it is a very good idea. It sounds very good on paper, right? um, then definitely maybe you can rope in a few celebrities at that point of time. Or if suppose say somebody is launching, some ABC company is launching fruit beer now, then definitely social media is a very good opportunity for them, right? So all these things are opportunities. And maybe there is a much better technology now also, which can allow us to produce this non-alcoholic fruit beer at a fraction of a cost than maybe 30 years back, right? Now there are threats also, right? So first and foremost, if it is beer, means everybody associates it with intoxication. So not sure how people might react to a non-alcoholic beer. Still there might be a stigma because people are not so much aware about the proper features of our product. So that is a threat, right? Now if alcohol gets produced at the same price range as our non-alcoholic beverage, especially who people who look towards beer as a method of intoxication will definitely not look for us, because they are going to get this for the same price. They'll get an intoxicating beer, then why should they buy a non-intoxicating beer, right? So that is a threat. Now government regulations might come up, we never know, right? So all these things are threats, and all these things are what you can say, factors, external evaluation factors. Now we will list down, first step we'll list down all these key external factors. Then we'll assign a weight, like global market, untapped market, maybe we'll give an weight of like say 0.15. So I've went ahead and listed out all the various external factors, and I have differentiated them into opportunities and threats. So that was our very first step. So the next step is we will assign weights to them. So um, weights could be say from 0 to 1. Okay, 0 being the least important, with 1 being the most important, like that. So maybe the untapped market, okay, maybe we will assign it a weight of 0.15, that is 15% weight we are giving it. Maybe ban on alcoholic beverages, we are rooting for that opportunity, maybe it is given a weight of 0.05, that is the effect of a ban on alcoholic beverages could positively impact our strategy 5%. That is social media's influence. Maybe we will give it again a 15%, like that. Then competition, maybe we will give it 10%. Poor media exposure, again maybe we'll give it 1%. Government regulation, let's say we'll give a factor of say 20%, right? So then, so how much is it totally? 15, 30, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75. So people's attitude, let's say 25%. So total it should come to 1. Okay, so a total weight should finally come to, that is out of 100 we are assigning how much percent importance we have to give. That is what is meant by weights. Once we have assigned the weights, the next step is to give the ranking. Ranking is from a say from a scale of 1 to 4, with 1 being we don't have to consider it at all, to 4 being we should be very prompt at what you can say, very prompt at responding to any change in these factors, right? So that is ranking. Okay, so we might rank our untapped market to as 1. Maybe ban on alcoholic beverages, if there is any lifting or any more increase on the ban, then we have to maybe above average response we have to give, we should consider it. If there is any change in people's attitude, then definitely we should respond the most, right? Like that. Let's say we will give weights to each of these factors, like that. And then we find the weighted score. So weighted score is nothing but we will multiply the weight with the ranking. Okay, we will multiply and we will write it down, and then we will total it up to get the total weighted score. So that is the external factor evaluation matrix. That is how we do it. And then once we, let's say, calculate this weighted score, okay, some xyz amount we have calculated, some xyz number we have calculated. Now no matter how many opportunities or how many threats you have, because our weights can only range from 0 to 1 and our rankings from 1 to 4, the maximum, or you can say the weighted score also will range from say 0, 1, 2, 3 or 4. Okay, and based on this so let's say 0 to 4 only, this weighted average score will also differ. So if it is closer to 1, sorry, 0 won't be there, 1 to 4 only, that weighted score will also come up. Okay, so if it is closer to 1 means it shows that the what you can say, the organization will be very slow to respond to its opportunities and threats, whereas if it is having closer to 4 means the organization will be able to respond to the opportunities and threats in a very good manner. So suppose say based on all this, let us I'll just quickly calculate and I'll find out the weighted score. Okay, so this comes to be around 1.95. That means the organization will not be able to, with this weighted score, okay, the with this weighted score, the organization will not be able to tap much into its opportunities and its threats. If this is how our external factors are weighted and ranked, then this is not a very good strategy. So we'll have to change our rankings or our weights in order to weights of each of these opportunities and threats in order to achieve or arrive at a good strategy. Especially, yes, that's right, because the most effect comes from the people's attitude, which is given most weight. So if people's attitudes change, that means our threat is more than the opportunity, right? So it is not at all a good idea to get into this fruit beer market. But unfortunately for Anchor, when they decided to invest in the fruit beers, their all these evaluations and analysis and field studies and pilot surveys and all those things they did indicated that their product would succeed. Okay, all these mathematical models, everything at that time which they communicate, which they did, actually definitely it was learned people only, maybe not like us, people from IIM backgrounds might have done it for them. They all thought that this is a very good strategy, and definitely there are not many companies that have failed in the FMCG market as well, that is fast moving consumer good market. But unfortunately for Anchor at that point of time, um, the theory was proven wrong. So that is the thing also, that is the beauty of what you can say strategy, is that you cannot prove strategy up beforehand and then do it. Strategy cannot be proven before it is implemented. It is just a theory until it is put into practice. And the moment you think that the theory is not going to work, you have to tweak that theory, you have to modify it, and finally get it working. And that ad hoc response is what brings out the leadership in you. So that is it for this video. I hope you understood how the importance of external environment, the PESTLE framework, the structural drivers of change, the scanning, competitiveness, all these things, the ERP framework, sorry, not the ERP, EFE framework, or the metrics, and all those things that we have discussed in this video. If you did, consider giving us a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you have not yet, because I'm sure that you will find something in this channel of mine that might come in useful to you. Do check out our other videos as well, and leave your comments, leave your suggestions, leave your questions if there is any in the comment box, and I'll surely get back to you. Thank you so much for your time.